Get some instant analysis. Welcome to CBS Sports HQ college basketball analyst and co-host of the Eye on College Basketball podcast, Matt Norlander. No Imani Bates, no problem. Memphis gets its first true road win of the season. Wichita State playing its first game in 10 days. Tigers take advantage here. Matt, what'd you learn about Memphis in their dominating win?
Well, I want to go back to something our colleague Gary Parrish said when we had our pregame HQ segment, and he said, listen, Alex Lomax, who also didn't play for Memphis in this game and has not been a productive point guard, Memphis has been better without Lomax and Imani Bates. Now, I think if Imani Bates is able to play in this game, if he doesn't have the finger issue, Memphis still wins easily. But it's interesting. There have been spurts throughout this season where a rickety Memphis team has actually fared better when Bates hasn't been on the floor. Reminder, Imani Bates has been a known college basketball talent since he was essentially 13 years old, and on a mainstream level, if you will, since he was 15. And yet what Memphis was able to do here, I'm of two minds on this, Hakeem. I don't want to overreact to a single game because Wichita State, from a metric standpoint, had not yet faced a team as good as Memphis, although it does have a nice road win against the quality Oklahoma State team. But the numbers suggested that this was the toughest team Wichita State played yet this season. So losing, even though it's at home, okay. And Memphis has been so up and down. But if you're Memphis, you have to take this on a, I know this is a cliche, but really on a game-by-game, if not half-by-half situation. Memphis has been such a disappointment this season that this win is extremely encouraging. Watching that game start to finish, it was no doubt about it. And when we just saw you just saw the highlights, you saw the stats come up in the post-game graphic there. There were all sorts of different contributions from different players. In the first half, it was way more Duren. Then they got Minot going in the second half. DeAndre Williams being back in that roster and that lineup is huge. I think he's their most important player. So good gains for the Tigers, who still have so much to do in terms of building an at-large resume. And at the same time, oh, by the way, despite Wichita State having the better record, Hakeem, the Shockers don't have much of an at-large resume at this point. We're still early. First day of January. I get all that stuff. But, man, what a positive outcome for the Tigers. And, frankly, I don't think anyone saw this kind of game and such dominance coming from this team in this spot. Good win for Penny Hardaway's team.
So you're saying that Imani Bates on the floor perhaps was a good thing on this day. But isn't that just a result of perhaps continuity when he gets back in the lineup and both Duren and Imani Bates are in the lineup, and then you guys got coming off the bench? Isn't that just a thing of we're gelling and the chemistry comes along and then we can become a powerhouse?
Maybe. Now, flashing back to what Penny Hardaway said on the record earlier in December, Penny Hardaway, every sports writer in America thanks him for this. He has been transparent about the locker room issues and saying it was the older guys. It wasn't the fact that, like, Jalen Duren and Imani Bates, the two newcomers who, could still be in high school if they wanted to be. It wasn't their issue. Now, Imani Bates is a pure scorer. He needs the ball in his hands, and when he's playing at his best, Memphis will be better. But, yes, the team still needs more. There needs to be more gelling that needs to happen. I don't think that's refutable at this point. But what's also not refutable is Memphis has been able to have really positive stretches of basketball when it hasn't had to go with Bates on the floor, in addition to Lester Quinones, DeAndre Williams, who was so big today, and Duren. Penny Hardaway also started a big lineup. He was not, and that wound up being just a perfect call. I don't know if that was Penny purely or if assistants. He's got Larry Brown on the bench there, Cody Toppert. I don't know, but either way, credit to the entire staff because they game planned that game perfectly. And if you're a Memphis fan, I don't think anyone's thinking the season has been turned around, but it's important to emphasize that the Memphis team we saw on Saturday was the best version of Memphis we've seen yet this season. That includes a couple notable wins earlier, but they haven't looked as good as they did until today.
Look, I know you'll agree. And you said that Imani Bates is a pure scorer, needs the ball in his hands. But look, NBA scouts going to be looking at that. How can you play with a team in the NBA? And if you're unable to play alongside another great player in Jalen Duren, that's going to be a problem, Matt. Because that's really the end game here for some of these kids is getting to the NBA. But you've got to show you can play alongside other star players at the college level.
That's absolutely right. And I do think that Bates is going to have more opportunities to show that, and he'll wind up being a high draft pick. He's not eligible, by the way. Duren is eligible to go in 2022. Imani Bates is not eligible to go to the NBA in the draft because of his age until 2023. So we'll see if he sticks at 2 years at Memphis or if who knows what's going to happen with that. So the point I'm bringing up here is that Imani Bates still has plenty of time. He's going to be waiting a bit while longer, and he's still young, man. He's, just on the cusp of being 18 years old here. And so we need to give him a little more leeway. But yes, absolutely, there needs to be a bit more. And, I spoke about this on the Eye on College Basketball podcast. I wrote about it over the summer when I saw Bates in person play on the Nike EYBL circuit. We need to be, I'm saying collectively, the media, people that scout and give these rankings out to high school players, the coaches that talk about them, we have a tendency to put too much on players too early. And it was never fair to Imani Bates that he was, tabbed as the greatest talent to come out of high school, arguably since a LeBron James. That clearly wasn't the case there. He hasn't been, a top 30, top 50 player in college basketball, but maybe he gets there. He does show flashes. And I like Memphis's long-term projection if Penny Hardaway can get the team playing consistently together. Defensively, frankly, it looked like the Memphis team from a year ago when it was a top 5 team in the country on that end of the floor. And keeping up that defensive consistency, I actually think will wind up being the primary characteristic, the identity of this team, more than, what can Duren do down low, or how can DeAndre Williams be, the centerpiece to all this, or Imani Bates, can he, put up 18, 20 a night? I think it's actually what they can do defensively, and a big-time win in a road environment for Memphis. And, hey, good start to 2022 for Penny Hardaway.
Yeah, and one of the notable offseason storylines was that Penny Hardaway added Hall of Fame coach Larry Brown to his staff, certainly helping with the development of guys like Jalen Duren and Imani Bates with the kind of experience he has. So if Larry Brown can help this team, of course, Penny Hardaway with a lot of experience as well, do you believe that Memphis is ultimately an NCAA tournament caliber team?
Yeah, 68 teams in the tournament, so I'm going to take your definition literally there and say NCAA tournament caliber team means that Memphis is one of the, say, 40 best in America, because the other, bids will go to smaller teams and smaller conferences there. And yes, I do still think that there's the way there. But as I said in pregame, as I said on the Eye on College Basketball podcast, winning against Wichita State, in my opinion, was a defining point for Memphis's at-large case going forward. Now, Memphis is fortunate enough to have 2 games at home scheduled. Hopefully these games can be played as scheduled, but it's Tulsa and it's Cincinnati. Those are teams that don't project to be NCAA tournament worthy teams this season. So Memphis has to win those kinds of games at home to maintain this. I think Memphis is going to the tournament. This is, as you asked this question though, Hakeem, let's acknowledge this. This is a bit of an indictment on Penny Hardaway as a coach to this point. Memphis was a preseason top 10 team in the AP Top 25 poll heading into this campaign back in early November. The fact that we have gotten to January and we are still discussing, okay, are we thinking this is an NCAA tournament team? It's not a good sign. The program, the team is not where it thought it would be, but there's still room for correction and there's enough talent there. This win did show me enough that I will say that when we get to Selection Sunday, I do believe Memphis will be in the NCAA tournament. I just think it's going to be, man, I think it's going to be this. It's going to be a roller coaster getting there, and it will be a bubble team, and either it's going to get there by the automatic bid in the American tournament, or it will get there by the skin of its teeth as an at-large, maybe going to Dayton for the first 4. But I'm going to tell you today, after what I saw here, I do think Memphis figures it out and becomes one of the 2 or 3 teams out of the American that makes the tournament.
Memphis last in the NCAA tournament in 2014. And by the way, I'm counting. We're 70 days away from Selection Sunday. Good to see you, Matt. Happy New Year.
You too.
For more from Matt Norlander, check out the Eye on College Basketball podcast, joined by Gary Parrish, delivering commentary, reporting, and insider information as they break down all the big storylines in college hoops. The Eye on College Basketball podcast. Download and subscribe today.